I think one of the biggest issues for new illustrators, people who are just starting out, especially those who have the skills, they've graduated, they've come out of school, and they're ready to work, one of the biggest challenges at that time is just knowing people, having a network, having connections, having people that know about them to ask them, hey, so-and-so, can you please make an illustration for me? Can you please draw for me? Can you please design for me? This is one of the biggest challenges for new illustrators, and that's what today's video is about. How to make those first connections and really grow and build your network so that people start knowing who you are, and when they need an illustration or an image made, they think about you. Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Tom Froese. I'm an illustrator and designer in Vancouver, British Columbia, and this is my vidcast where I answer your questions about illustration. My goal here is to give you insights and inspiration that help you become a better illustrator. Today I'm just going to keep it short. I'm just going to go right into the question and answer, and I will give you some updates and chit chat perhaps some other time. So this question comes from Cory Jenson. He's a recent grad from the University of the Fraser Valley's graphic design program, and I was at his portfolio review, and then he kind of followed up over LinkedIn and just asked me this question. I thought it was a really relevant question for someone at his stage, and for a lot of you at this time of year where you've graduated or it's the end of the school year. You're looking for work. You're either looking for an internship or a proper full job, or you're looking for your first client if you're in freelancing. Basically, you're hungry for work because you're creative, you have all the skills, you're ready to go. Now you want people to call you. And so I wanted to answer this question kind of just with 5 suggestions or ideas. I'm not saying these are going to solve all your problems, but they're things that I believe are important to at least consider and try. It's not an exhaustive list, it's just 5 things, 5 ideas. So why don't we just get into it? My first answer to Cory's question is the longer you're in the industry, the more people you will meet. This is to say you start somewhere near zero and then you gradually build up your little black book. So obviously this is very obvious and plain, and this isn't really a tip, it's just more something to remember. So when you're starting out, go easy on yourself. You're starting at zero, and you have to understand and remember that it doesn't happen right away. These things happen over time. And the takeaway or the actionable thing you can do based on this step is to make effort to reach out. And this is going to kind of make more sense as I talk about the next points. But you need to be proactive, active, getting yourself out there. No one's gonna find you, discover you if you're just sitting in your house and just waiting for people to come to you. It just doesn't work like that. My second tip is that you will make the most connections in the creative community by what you contribute to it. For some, that's making work that impresses and inspires others. Hopefully as creatives, at least some people connect to us in this way. More on this in my third point. Other ways people contribute is by volunteering at design or creative related events. Another way is through teaching. If you have a skill that you can share with other people, you can start a niche Instagram account and commit to it by creating something regularly every day for a year. That's another idea. This would be with the aim of attracting like minds. So you make something on Instagram every day. It's kind of everything you make is kind of like a set. It's related. Maybe you want to draw a different fruit every day for a month, and then the next month you draw a different vegetable. That could be extremely boring, but maybe you can make that fun. Whatever it is, have this theme, and then like-minded people will sort of grow, attract to that. They'll want to follow you, and that's one way of building a connection. One other example is creating content that others find useful, such as having a blog or contributing to other blogs. So at your stage, of course, you may not be sought after for your expertise, but you have a valid perspective and a point of view. Your point of view could be from that of a recent grad or a new illustrator trying to figure things out. This is exactly what I did when I was kind of learning to be a creative. Even before I went to design school, I chronicled my journey on a blog. I had a community of readers reading it, participating by commenting and all that kind of stuff. And at least it was interesting to some people. And what resulted from that over time, and this is much less tangible, I can't really quantify what the result was, but I know connections were made from that. At very least, people started to identify me as a creative person. And when they thought of, maybe someone they knew said, hey, do you know anyone creative who could, take on this job or this problem? They'd say, oh, I know my friend Tom. He's been learning design, learning illustration. And those kinds of things do work and they do matter. It's a long game thing. And you have to be in it. You have to want to make whatever this resource is. I'm now talking kind of specifically about this blog example. If you have a knack for writing and sharing and teaching people or explaining or describing or storytelling, turn that into a blog and turn that into a resource that other people can participate in, whether they're just interested in you as your friend, or they're actually looking for someone to commiserate with them through this painful experience of being a new grad with no job. So my third tip is, if getting good project opportunities is the purpose of your networking, your motive, then your work has to be good enough to impress other people. So you have to find a way to impress the right people. You can impress people by the quality of your work, how fast you're able to work, how personable you are, how original your ideas are, how professional you are, and how well you guide your clients through the creative process and stuff like that. So I'm just listing off different kind of superpowers or strengths that you might have that will make you on demand over time. My point is, some of us will be illustrators because we love illustration, or we'll be designers because we love design, but we're not going to be the best in the world at that. But that's okay. The more important thing is that you love it, you're passionate about it, and you can provide that to paying clients, and they find that service valuable. And how are you going to add value to those things? How are you going to impress your client and make them want to pay you again and again? It's by being predictable, professional, personable, flexible, adaptable, authoritative. So you also have come in with some expertise, and when a client wants you to do something that you actually feel strongly against, you're able to professionally put them back on track and say, I understand how you're seeing it here, but I actually think that if we do it this way, we could achieve X, Y, and Z, which is why you hired me. That kind of thing. And actually, there's a really great little Venn diagram graphic that's going around on Twitter, and I shared it on my Twitter recently, and I'll put a link to it in the notes of this video. And I think it was shared by, it wasn't originally shared by Kyle Webster, but I think he did retweet it. His comment, and if you don't know who Kyle Webster is, he is the Photoshop brush guy, the guy who's really made Photoshop brushes as amazing as they are today. And what he says, and he's an excellent illustrator, he said, and I'm paraphrasing very badly here, but he says, it's not that I'm the best illustrator in the world, but I've been reliable, I've never missed a deadline, and something to that effect. So I'm gonna share that graphic and maybe even a link to Kyle's tweet. It's really inspiring because it means your superpower doesn't just have to be being like the world's greatest illustrator or the most elite artist or something like that. It's really about professionalism. You can also, to my original point of this tip, you can also impress people with top-notch, world-class illustration work. That is the hope. I think nobody gets into illustration hoping they'll be mediocre. But over time, we start to find what our strength is. We realize, okay, I'm not so good at this, but I am really good at that, and I'm going to lean into that. And that kind of conversation can happen within your style. Like for me, I can say, oh, I'm not so good at drawing realistically or very painterly, but I really like being kind of quirky and weird and super whimsical. I'm going to lean into that. And that's become kind of a hallmark of my style. And so that's kind of like more narrowed into the style thing, but on the sort of like why clients come to me, what value they see in me, even before I had an established style, I've been professional, I've been clear, I've been able to sort of guide them through the process in a way that is clear and makes them sure that they know where they are in the process. And by this very specifically, I mean like I and I'm talking about being an illustrator here. Like early on as an illustrator, I already had experience as a designer, and I knew how to present ideas and persuade people kind of in a way that gave them options and made them feel like I was addressing the problem in different creative ways, allowed them to participate by choosing one of the options and pushing that forward, giving me feedback. And each time I presented a client with a new creative result, a thing, a drawing, a sketch, a finished piece of artwork, it was clear what they were looking at and what they were to do next. And this is what I mean by guiding a client through the process. And I think a lot of illustrators are not trained nor natural at doing this for their clients. This is the level of service that I think we should all learn how to do, and I can speak more on this another time. But this is one of my superpowers, and one of the reasons I've been able to be on demand by clients even before I really established my style or became a good illustrator. And even today, whether I'm an actual good illustrator is debatable. And just to belabor the point, my other superpowers kind of make up for that. So every time you work for someone, you do your best to do all of these things, be a great illustrator, provide professional level service and all that. You will be better at one, maybe two of these than others. In my case, I feel that people tend to be impressed by my originality and my professionalism guidance through the process. I do not think that I'm the most gifted illustrator, but my other qualities sort of give what little talent I have more shine. This is my fourth tip. Go to creative events. Go to all local creative events, regardless of how specific they are to illustration, especially if you don't live in a big city where there's always a huge illustration scene going on. Cory probably lives closer to where I live here in the Fraser Valley. Definitely not really an illustration scene here, but there are creative-ish events, and going to those and meeting people, passing around business cards, even being invited to talk at an event like one of these is a great way to connect with people, share what you're doing, and get other people on board with you, excited about what you're excited about. So go to these local events. Since moving here to kind of the country outside of the big city of Vancouver, in order to make those connections, I started going to some local meetings of local businesses and entrepreneurs, and this group has continued to meet and build connections through each other, and through this I've gotten some pretty fun jobs, and one of them was the Fieldhouse beer label and kind of suite of merch that they made with my name on it, which was really cool and fun. So also seek out events near and far that are specific to illustration. If you want to illustrate or write kids books, the SCBWI, that's like the Children's Book Writers and Illustrators Society, their conferences are good. That's a good one that I've heard of, and I think Cory specifically, if I remember his work, is actually very children's book centered, and so that would be a conference that I think is held in New York or somewhere in the US. That would be worth a trip, a flight, a hotel to go and participate, because you're going to meet people far outside your bubble and make those connections. And if anything, you're going to hear experts talk and learn a ton. And these things, these live events, are so vital to breathe life in our careers, no matter what stage and how many connections we have going into them. I'm also suggesting to Cory and to you, to anyone who's really interested in making great connections to other illustrators and people who are tapped into the illustration agency, i.e. people who will give you work, I would say go to Icon 11 in 2020. Icon is the illustration conference, happens every 2 years. The most recent one was last July in Detroit. The one before that was in Austin. And the next one, I believe, is going to be in Kansas City, Missouri, I think. Double check on that. but I'll leave their contact information in the show notes either way. So I'm saying go to these conferences near and far. That's how you're going to make these in-person connections. Everything you can do to make a connection is a net positive. A couple weeks ago, I went to a one-day Creative Works conference in Seattle, and that was really fun. Met some illustrators that I know from the interwebs, and saw some people talk. It was a lot of fun. Had tacos afterward, even hung out and went out for drinks with some fellow Canadians that actually came into the conference in Seattle from Vancouver, and we were able to kind of meet in person. We never met before, so that was really fun. Now we know each other. Okay, finally, my fifth tip for making those vital connections as an illustrator to kind of get the ball rolling on your career is to team up. Find friends that you have a very close connection to creatively and make a product or initiative that will matter to other people. Use this as a way to flex your creative muscles, make up your dream job. That is, like, if people aren't giving you work that you want to be doing, make your own work that you would love to be doing. Use this as a way to also gather people around you who care about what you care about. I think the single thread that runs through all of these is giving and contributing by doing something that you enjoy yourself. So here I'm not just talking about my fifth point, but all my tips. The single thread that runs through all these tips is that you are giving and contributing by doing something you yourself enjoy. People are attracted to charisma and energy and to the sense that they will benefit from a connection with you. I don't have a lot of in-person charisma. If anybody knows me personally, I can be a little bit, I have a bit of a resting bitch face. It takes a lot of muscles in my face to smile. And I do love smiling, but anyone who knows me is I'm kind of a dry, even my sense of humor, like people don't know if I'm joking because my facial muscles don't confirm that I've just been sarcastic or told a joke. I am not super charismatic, but I have a deep passion for creativity that comes out in the things that I put out there. So I feel like if you were to, talk to me on a day that I'm kind of like tired and not super pumped up, and then look at the work that I make, you might be like, he makes that with those colors and that kind of buoyant feeling. That's weird. I just think that, like, I have this charisma, I have this energy deep down inside, and it comes out in my creativity. And I think that's true for a lot of us illustrators because many of us introverts. And in person, depending on the day, depending on who I'm talking to, depending on what I'm talking about, that charisma and energy doesn't necessarily come out. But the passion and charisma is there, and when it's triggered, boom, out it comes. And that kind of illuminates and then enlivens, I guess, the energy that I put out there and the work that I do and the level of service and all that kind of thing. So I think that in a large part has been what has connected me to others, that passion. The passion and charisma that comes through my work and maybe through my writing even. And that passion doesn't mean that I'm like a 24/7 party, but it means that what I'm writing, what I'm illustrating, it resonates with other people. It's crafted carefully, thoughtfully, and is introducing something new or a new perspective in a clear way. And I think that's what people are attracted to and what connects people to me and to my work and generates new business. So another angle is to find people you are like and introduce yourself. Larger, broader networks spread out from smaller, more specialized communities. So think of a star network or diagram. There's always one central node in the middle, and it has a few nodes coming from it, and then more nodes come off each one of those, and eventually some of those nodes connect right directly back to you. So this is me getting a little bit carried away, but basically, like, you just have to think about when you connect to people, it starts off slow, and then you make these few connections, and those connections maybe star out into more and more connections. And over time, many people know about you, and most of those people will never actually connect back with you or give you work, but more than you would have otherwise do end up connecting straight back to you. And this is just one idea or one set of ideas 5 to be specific, of how connecting, networking works, and in my experience, the things that I've done. So I hope that helps you, Cory, and I hope that helps you guys who are watching this. Thank you so much for watching it. If you found this video helpful, please give it a like, and if you find this channel helpful, if you just like watching me talk about these things, please consider subscribing. Subscriptions are the best way of knowing that this is a good use of my time and a good use of your time to watch these. So thanks guys, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep making great work and keep asking great questions.